Okay, so I'm going to follow the same pattern that's been followed in the previous presentations. So I'm going to deal with best practices in each of these sections. So first, let's see the data ones. So I'm going to elaborate on all these three. Okay, what do you mean by this? Linking data from multiple files. Clarence actually touched upon this in his presentation, the first presentation done today. Typically have data in 3 different distinct files. It becomes easier if they are linked to create reports from, say, a column involved in one of the tables combined with the column involved in another table. So this is how you define the lookup columns in Zoho reports. So you look up the product code in the sales data table to the SKU code in the product table, and also the salesperson email in the sales data table to the email in the salesperson table. That's how you end up creating a report like this, where you can have the, so if you don't have linked the tables, then it will be like, say, the product SKU code or something like that. So this becomes easier. So the first practice would be to link the distinct tables. Okay, so don't replicate your database as is. So this one, typically your database will be something like this, very complicated, too many fields, too many unneeded columns and tables. So what you do when you come to Zoho reports, you cut down the tables that you don't need. For example, the address table, the vendor table, and then you cut down the columns that you don't want to report on, you don't want to analyze on. Like, say, the mobile number, the address. So same thing with the other tables as well. So finally, you'll end up with a simpler data model in Zoho reports like this. The next data practice would be to keep your data clean and error-free. This was touched upon by Ian as well. First thing to do would be to format your data correctly. You see that the decimal places are set to none, which means that any metric on top of this is going to have like multiple decimals, which may not be needed. And same thing with currency. So if it's currency, then you better have a dollar symbol or whatever currency symbol that you want instead of none. So instead of getting a table like this, where we have 3 decimal points and no currency symbol, if you do it right, then you get a table like this, where there is a dollar symbol, and if not needed, we can get rid of the decimal places too. So the next thing would be to find and replace. So you see the example where there are misspellings. Ian had a slightly different, complicated way of, say, replacing Colorado, the CO and the zip code and all that. So here is a simpler example, so that your table gets cleaned up. On the metric side, so first, it's all about avoiding poorly identified metrics. So what do you mean by that? So don't use query tables, actually, for deriving metrics. So in this example, actually, what I'm doing is I'm defining a metric, which is profit to sales ratio, and I'm grouping it by year. So what if you want a metric which is to be grouped by the quarter, or by the product category, or by the month? Then you have to define each as a query table, something like this. Whereas if you use an aggregate formula instead, then it will be easier for you to, actually, if you see that, okay, it's for the year, for the quarter, for the product category, everything, it gets applied automatically, the same formula. You define it once and it gets reused across. So this is the better way of doing it. So avoid wrongly defined metrics. The second point it would be to, so again, let's take the mistake that's typically done by many people. So we have come across this very often, defining the average of, say, a metric like CTR, which is click-through rate, which is nothing but clicks by impressions. You can see that this is not the way to do it. So typically people tend to average the already calculated, because CTR is already a derived metric, and you can't have an average calculated like that. So the correct method to do would be something like this, where you sum the number of clicks, and then you sum the number of impressions, then put them one over the other, multiply by 100 to get the percentage. And here you will end up with the correct metric. And this is how it gets carried over to a pivot table, or in a report if you want, or in a chart. Moving on, the third part would be some of the best practices in analytics and visualization. So choosing the best chart. Here we have, so choose the right chart for the right occasion. That's what it's going to be. So for example, what is wrong with this pie chart? It consists of too many pies. So typically, say pie charts, 3 or 4 pies max. Better option would be to club all the smaller pies together into an others category and have it like this. In case of bar chart, don't use multiple colors. So a better bar chart would look like this. It's of single color. It's either arranged in the ascending or descending order. And then you have the text in a readable, much more readable format. So what's wrong with this one? Actually, it is plotting sales and cost as a stacked bar. Stacked bar typically add up to 100%. So here, sales and cost are two different metrics. And so the right way to do would be to have them as separate bars, instead of using it as a stacked bar. And this is another case that we come across, where one metric is much lower, at a lower range when compared to the other metric. This will not give you any data insights. So here, how the salary has affected the sales, if you want to know, better option would be to split the axis for the salary and the sales like this, so that it's now much more comparable. Moving on to the funnel chart. What's wrong with this funnel is that it's arranged in the descending order of value according to the stage. So it's like the qualification goes in the alphabetical order, actually. So it's like you see that it need not be the case. So the stages, its qualification comes first and closed one comes last, but then in the intermediate stages, actually you can custom sort. So Zoho Reports offers a way to custom sort the way you want to arrange the flow. And this is the custom sort order, which is the right order the funnel should be in. So put together, we have a chart picker guide in this URL. So where we discuss all the different scenarios where each of these charts are to be had. So, and this is a popular TV grab some years ago. So you know what's wrong here. So the pie should always add to 100%. That's the biggest thing. So avoid such gaffes. Another misuse is the use of 3D pie charts. Here you can see that the numbers 21, 23, 17 all look alike. Whereas in a 2D chart, it's much more clear. So always go for a 2D pie chart over a 3D pie chart. So the same applies to the bar chart as well. where you don't know the top, where actually it is the bar where it ends. Whereas in a 2D bar, it's all, so the interpretation is much more simple. Moving on, we'll see some of the dashboard best practices. I'm going to show you a couple of dashboards. This one is a support dashboard. Again, another one. Avoid dials, actually. So dials are a poor way of representing metrics because they occupy a lot of space for conveying a single metric, which is a number here. So this chart actually is from our own product, actually. So the dials have become the KPI widgets at the top, and this is more easy to interpret. So avoid clutter, use colors, and in fact, avoid gradients, I would say. So use colors judiciously. Don't use gauges, thermometers, and all the widgets. And it's always a good idea to limit the dashboard to a particular area of, so have different dashboards for, say, sales, marketing, etc. The next part would be the best practices in sharing and collaboration. So this is again a point that was touched by. So segregate creators and consumers. So in your organization, there will be typically a limited number of report creators, and say 20% of them will be creators and 80% are just consumers. So when sharing, so this is how you share. So the tables, the charts you share with the consumers, the tables you share with the creators, so that the creators can create more reports on top of those tables, and the consumers just consume the charts and the dashboards alone. This makes the data management much more easier. So avoid duplicating reports, meaning here, let's see about filter criteria. This is the classic example of how each salesperson has done the sales. So what is the sales done by each of the salespersons? Now we have the managers for each such salesperson. So Patricia is a manager for a few of the salespersons, and Charles is the manager for a few of the others, actually. So what if you want to share the report to Patricia? What you do is just say the manager is Patricia Boyle, and then you end up getting a report like this. So Patricia can see only the salespersons who are reporting to her. So the sales done by the persons who are reporting to her. That's it. Thank you.